Hello everybody and welcome. This is Starship Adventures and I guess we'll call this a product review. You know, I have been a Windows user all the way back to Windows 1. As a matter of fact, Windows 3.1.1 for workgroups and Windows XP have been two of the best operating systems ever. And 7 and 10 have been pretty good too. But tonight I'm going to discuss Windows 11. It's been around for a little while now, and people have had a chance to use it, and so I did some research and I looked into what people are saying about it. I spoke to the technicians at work, and I also talked to some other people that are now Windows 11 users because they've either upgraded or they've bought new systems. So unlike a few years ago, we can now talk about Windows 11 with some surety that we know what we're talking about because it's been out for a little while now. Right off the bat, I'm going to say not a fan of Windows 11. I've tried it on a machine for a while and I wiped it and went back to Windows 10. I don't like it. If you like the if you like the Microsoft OS or the Mac OS interface, then you might find it a little more friendly. But what they've basically done is they're changing it to look different. And we're going to get into all that here in just a few minutes. So sit back and enjoy this deep dive into Windows 11 and why you might want to hold off. I want to start with this. Microsoft has a lot in common with the Star Trek movies. I know I always find a way to bring Star Trek in, but hey, I'll admit it. Every other one, not so good. 1, 2, great. 3, 4, great. 5, 6, great. I can go on all the way through the franchise. Every other movie's great, every other movie's bad. I can do the same thing with Windows. Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows 3, great. Windows 4, terrible. And it goes all the way up. Windows XP was great. Your ME and Millennium before that were horrible. Your Windows 8, 7 was great. Windows 8 was bad. Windows 10 has been very good. So what's coming up next? We kind of know, because it's every other operating system that comes out of Microsoft is a disaster. I never ran Windows 8. I completely skipped that edition. I never ran ME or Millennium, or Millennial, whatever they called it. There's certain editions of Windows that I knew along the way were not going to be good, and I learned from others' mistakes. I'm never the first one to go to the new operating system. In fact, I will use an old operating system for a while. Even buying new equipment and installing the older operating system in it because I know it works. A lot of you are ham radio operators that listen to my channel, and when you're a ham radio operator, a lot of your older stuff will not work with Windows 11. This is another thing, and we're going to get into that in just a minute too. So if you're a ham operator, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. If you're not a ham operator, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. So stay with us for the duration of this video. It's a little longer than my standard monologue videos, but I do want to go through this piece by piece and explain to you guys why you might want to just hold off on updating to Windows 11. Number one, and this one sticks in my craw, you have to have a Microsoft account. You can't use your computer without a Microsoft account. Now I've heard there's hacks and stuff coming out. Okay, if you want to go through and deal with all that, and I'm certainly not, I don't want anything to do with Microsoft for an account. And then of course, if you don't create an account, then it makes it very difficult to get apps for your computer through the Microsoft Store, because they won't give you anything through Microsoft Store without a Microsoft account. The whole thing sours my belly, and to be honest with you, what I do is I steer clear of the whole mess. I try to stay completely away from Microsoft if I can, and that includes not going to Windows 11, where I have to create and maintain a Microsoft account just to use my computer. So in other words, now everything I do on the computer is tied to my name through Microsoft. The next thing, the user interface. This is perhaps one of the largest complaints that we're getting, is the user interface. They basically completely changed Windows 10. Remember when they completely changed Windows 7 and they made Windows 8? Remember that? And it pissed everybody off. Well, they did it again. History repeats itself, and sometimes with these kind of people, you don't have to wait that long. They literally went and changed the whole interface to look like Apple OS or Mac OS. I don't use those systems. So when I walk up to a Windows 11 machine, to me, it looks like a Mac, and I don't know what I'm doing on it, and I'm not happy, and I generally move on to the next machine, or I do something else. I don't like Mac OS. I've never liked the way it works, and now it's like we're going to be stuck with Mac going forward. Not if we make enough noise. I think the next Windows will probably come about halfway back, will probably be what happens, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But they introduced a complete revamped user interface, or UI, and it's basically, it shifts the, it basically shifts it from giving you a lot of customization options to it just deciding most of it for you. Windows has been doing this for years, where they will slowly diminish the amount of options that you have. Like when you first get it, you can change the background, you can change the borders, you can change the colors, you can change it. And then the next one comes out, well, you can't change the background anymore, but you can still change all the other stuff. Then the next one comes out, well, you can't change the borders anymore, only the color of the bar. Windows has been slowly removing your ability to change your desktop and your working environment for years. They add more buttons, but you actually can do less. It really sucks. And I just absolutely hate it. This newer user interface is going to be a learning curve. If you're like me, almost 55 years old, okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm an old dog. I don't like the new tricks. I've been a Windows user all along. I absolutely never used Windows 8 because they drastically changed it. They brought Windows most of the way back in 10. I use a thing called DOS Shell, or what is Super Shell? It's called Super Shell. And what it does is it puts my Windows 10 exactly back like Windows 7, which I prefer. I don't like that Metro thing that they put on there. And so, you can look up something, you can find something that will even make your Windows 10 look like Windows 7 if that's what you want to do. I even saw one that emulates you all the way back to Windows XP. So you should be able to use the computer that you want to use. And I'm so sick of these younger folks saying, it's resistance to change, it's resistance to change. You know what? Change just for the sake of change is crap, okay? Changing stuff just for the sake of changing it is stupid. We didn't need to change it. Windows 10 works great. Everything works great. Windows 11, now let's go through all the problems we're having. First of all, it's a Mac OS look and feel. Your taskbar stuff now centers. So, in other words, the first program you open pops up in the middle of your taskbar instead of over on the left. I'm sorry, but in any world, that seems pretty stupid to me. I like my things starting on the left. I don't know if this was a way to appease people who read and write starting on the right. I don't know, but it really upsets me. And then they don't give you a button to move it back. They're really making it difficult. Now, eventually people will come out with programs that you can run or with hacks that you can put in that will allow you to have some of your features and abilities of Windows 10 back. But just face it. I mean, once you upgrade to Windows 11, you're screwed. You're stuck with all this just the way it is. Now, you may like it. I'm a very opinionated guy, okay? And I've set my mind on the fact that this Windows 11 is crap. And so that's what this video is based on. If you want to put in the comments, you're completely wrong, I've got Windows 11 and it works great, I won't delete your comment. That's perfectly fine. I get that. And some people probably like this, especially people that prefer that all the decisions be made for them and that all the updates be done for them and that all of the important things are taken care of for them. Then yes, I guess maybe 11's better. if you're someone like me that likes to take charge of my system and use it for a lot of things and work with it and push it to the max, this is not the operating system for you. Windows 11 has a very stringent hardware requirement, so we're going to talk about that next. Windows 11 requires everything that you install to be 64-bit. Now, I know most things nowadays are 64-bit, but over 2/3 of my ham radio programs are not 64-bit, which means I would have to now go and install, some kind of virtual desktop machine so that I can go back and run a Windows 7 or a Windows 10 virtual desktop and then remap everything through that so that I can use that with programs for ham radio, for digital radio and things like that. And so there's a lot of issues there. So any older hardware that's 32-bit is not going to work on Windows 11 without some kind of emulator or some kind of additional software that you'll have to figure out and put in. The transition to Windows 11 has brought significant compatibility issues affecting software applications and hardware drivers. This is another one. If you've got older sound cards, older video cards, may not work with Windows 11. I know no less than 2 people that updated their system to Windows 11 from Windows 10, and both of them bricked their system. And we were able to get both of them back up again by reinstalling Windows 10 from scratch. What happened was Windows 11 is not compatible with the video driver, and it didn't pick it up in the test. And so what ended up happening was it went into it, couldn't do anything with the driver, and just went to a blank screen. So these compatibility issues are a problem, especially if you're a ham radio operator and you use older software. If you're using some 15-year-old vector program, or like me, playing 21-year-old or 24-year-old now, General Zero Hour, a strategy game, it won't work on Windows 11. It's not going to work unless you go through the process of learning how to download and install an emulator, and then downloading and installing Windows 7 or Windows 10 into that emulator, and then you'll have to run your machine and then run the emulator within your machine every time you want to play the game. And by the way, if you don't have enough system resources to do all this, it's not going to work, and it takes quite a bit. So I just do not see the reason to upgrade if you're accustomed to using older programs. Now, if you're someone that uses only the current programs and only the latest versions, and I want them all updated, I don't care. Again, 11 might be for you. Windows 11 has aggressive, one more last thing. Driver issues, the peripheral devices are another thing. USB devices, peripheral devices, the way Windows 11 handles those is a little bit different. And so there's been some compatibility issues with that. Back to what I was just saying, Windows 11 has extensive telemetry and data collection features. It collects and sends more information back to Microsoft than 10 ever thought about. And so if you did get Windows 11, you can't firewall the Microsoft site like I always do. First thing I do when I install Windows is I firewall the Microsoft site, because I don't want it sending my data back to Microsoft, because it always tries to do that. And I don't want it doing that. Well, with Windows 11, if you firewall the Windows site, your operating system won't work anymore, because it has to be able to connect to Windows, and you have to have a valid Microsoft account, and it has to be active. I do believe you can still use your computer offline, but this brings up issues with the licensing and everything, and whether it will work. What if the power's out? What if the internet's down for weeks? Am I still going to be able to use my computer? It can't connect to verify my Microsoft account, and that question's really not been answered. This is one of my big ones. This is one of my biggest problems with Windows in general. Compulsory updates. They, in every version of Windows that's come out, when Windows first came out, up through 3, you would be asked, there's updates, do you want them? And if you say yes, it would say, okay, I'm going to download them, I'll let you know when I'm done, and we'll install them tonight when you go to bed. Okay, And it would go through a list. Here's what I've got. Do you want all of these? Yeah, it's fine. Well, by the time we got to Windows 7, these things were compulsory. I mean, they were coming down, and it was hard to stop them. We got to 10. If you had the 10 home version, you couldn't stop them. It was almost impossible, okay? I found several ways by building a macro that deleted everything out of the software distribution folder every hour. And that prevented Microsoft from ever getting a full set of their software into my hard drive. And that prevented my machine from updating for several years until I finally just upgraded everything to Pro, and I was able to turn it off in the programming, which is the best way to do it. None of my machines update. The whole thing about you better update your machines or something bad's going to happen or you're going to go to hell or whatever. Look, let me tell you guys something, okay? I'll install a 3-year-old version of Windows 10 in my machine, all right? And I will not let it update. I will not let it update. And that's the version it's stuck with until the day it dies. It will not update. The drivers don't update. The programs don't update. And you want to know something? Works great, never have any problems. If you're a hacker and you're one of these people that goes in and likes to get into things and you're on the black web and you're doing all these stupid things you maybe shouldn't do, or maybe you're a big porn guy and you go to all the porn sites. Yeah, I get it. You probably want the latest version of everything. Malware, threatware, and you want all of it, and you want to have the latest update on all this, and the latest operating system, and the latest browser, okay? But for the rest of us that live mostly in the real world, that download ham radio programs, okay, chances are you're fine, okay? Most of the time, anytime you get malware, or you get spyware, or you get a virus, you know where you got it. You were out looking somewhere. You were out doing stuff. You saw the things popping up. You went anyway. It's one of those things. So I decide I don't like Windows updates. I prefer to get Windows 10 about a year after it came out. That's the version I like. That's the version I've got in every one of my systems. So the point there is, if you want to be able to turn your Windows updates off, which is something that I think is a good idea, at least for me, okay, especially if you use a lot of old programs and old drivers and old sound cards and old computer programs for ham radio, probably a good idea to not be updating that machine all the time. We got a Windows update at the radio station. Took 9 radio stations off the air. It took us the better part of the weekend down there to get them back up again. And it was because of a damn Windows update that took out all of the sound cards on the stations. And our computers are Windows Pro, and they're set to not update. We actually have to firewall Microsoft and prevent them from looking into our machines. Because even if we turn the updates completely off, they'll still force an update through that we must have. Again, these are computers that don't even go on the internet. I mean, other than just to dial in and routine maintenance and stuff, they're not internet computers. We don't sit there and surf websites on them. They're radio station computers. And Windows forced an update on us, took all our stations off the air. I hate Windows updates. They come at the worst times. I was getting ready for a job interview one time. And 1 hour before the job interview, I'm sitting there. I want to go through my notes one last time. I got 2 things to print out for the interview. I'm all set to go, and Windows goes into an update. I was so mad. If Bill Gates had walked in, no, let's not go into that. But I was very mad. I hate Windows updates. So, if you're like me and you hate Windows updates, Windows 11 probably not a good idea. Okay. Lots of instability and bugs. I've already discussed that. Hardware upgrades cost. There's actually, if you're using certain software, you'll have to buy additional drivers or software to use what you're using. This is somewhat rare, but it has happened where people need a certain kind of device driver or whatever that's no longer available for, or that's not available for Windows 11 without paying for it. And I've actually spoke to one of these people, and it happens. So that's a possibility, especially if you're using an older machine and you're upgrading. Hardware upgrade costs, we talked about that. a lot of times if you want Windows 11, you're going to buy a new machine because the requirements on the hardware are stringent. And so if you got an older machine or even a somewhat newer machine, it wasn't built with Windows 11 in mind, I strongly recommend against updating a machine to Windows 11 from Windows 10. Now, if you want a Windows 11 machine, spend a little bit of money and build one or buy one. Build a Windows 11 machine. Put 64 gigs of memory in it. Make sure that it's got everything you need to run everything fast. And build you a Windows 11 machine and learn how to use it and be happy with it. But man, I don't know. Software licensing expenses. We just talked about that. If you have Windows 10, it may be eligible for an update, but I think most of that's all ended now. So you're probably going to have to pay for it either way. I would stay with Windows 10 until you buy a new machine and then decide. Okay, you can still get a machine with Windows 10. And as always, I recommend you build your machine. Don't buy it. This machine that I'm recording on right now back here, that is a huge gaming machine. It's a 12-core computer. It's got 7 video outputs. I built that from the ground up for under $1,000. You go online to get a computer that does anything close to this is $5,000, $4,000, $3,000. Building computers is better. And if you build a computer, put Windows 10 in it. You don't need Windows 11. Windows 11 has impacted gamers. Gamers that upgrade to Windows 11 are finding major performance issues and also some compatibility challenges with some of their gaming equipment. Some gamers get a certain joystick they like or whatever, and some things don't speak well with 11. So I know there's been, I read one blog earlier today when I was doing this research for this piece, and these gamers do not like Windows 11. So if you're a gamer, beware. Okay, beware. Let's see here. Integration with Microsoft services. Okay. In 7 and 10, it's fairly easy to shut off Microsoft services that you don't want and simply download the services that you want to use in their place, like Windows Media Player, Paintbrush, those kind of things. In Windows 11, they actually make it very difficult to get rid of or to even disable all of the Windows bundling in choice to get something that you want. And so because of that, because of the reduced flexibility with third-party apps, again, buyer beware on that. The design and the defaults favor Microsoft applications, making third-party software as the default option less straightforward. Okay, it's just going to be a little more complicated for you to completely customize this the way you want. Again, they make customization harder and harder and harder because they really would prefer that you just use it the way they sent it to you in the box. Okay. Microsoft Edge, they really want you to use Edge. Now, the rumor went around that 11 will not let you use other browsers. That just isn't true. There's little glitches and things in there that will try to make you think that, and it might even come up and tell you that at some point. But the truth is you can download Opera or Chrome or Firefox or Brave or one of these other good browsers that are out there. And by the way, I find Opera and Brave to both be very good browsers that a lot of people don't know about. So if you're using Chrome and it's a lumbering, cumbersome piece of crap, okay, because it's too big, try Opera. It's an open source software that's based on the Chrome infrastructure, and you might find that to be a little refreshing compared to Chrome. It might actually run faster on your machine. Changing your default apps, just to finish that, it's very difficult in Windows 11. Windows 11, I told you about that browser, no big deal there. No longer an action center, and what they replaced it with is more cumbersome, more clicks, and it doesn't seem to be as intuitive as the Action Center was. How can we update something and every time seem to make it worse? I don't call them updates. One of the jokes at work, I call them down dates, because pretty much most updates are a down date. You're getting this and it's downgrading what you used to have. So it's a downgrade. So it's a down date. And anyway, for people with tablets, you know, on Windows tablets, I actually have a Windows tablet and I love it. I actually just ordered a case for it and everything else. I love this thing. Joseph just gave it to me and said, here, I have an extra one. And I just started using it. And I'm like, Windows in a tablet, how cool is that? And so with this, if you go to Windows 11 in your tablet, or you buy a Windows 11 tablet, it no longer has the menuing on the swipes and things like that. It's a little harder to use. The Windows 11 Microsoft Defender software is still not enough. And I don't use antivirus software because, again, I have this weird suspicion. I'm not a real big conspiracy theorist. I mean, I believe we landed on the moon, and, you know, I believe the White House didn't take down the buildings on 9/11. I don't believe in most of these weird conspiracy theories, okay? But when it comes to viruses, there's only one group of people that would benefit from all of these viruses, most of which don't earn the people who made them any money. These people sit in their basement and they make these Trojans and they released them on the world. Who paid them to do that? They're not doing that for free. And I'm suspicious that some or all of these companies are playing both ends of the stick. And so I don't want to do that. I have not bought an antivirus program in 20 years. The 3 or 4 times I happened upon a virus, I was able to get rid of it out of my system. Sometimes it was big, but I was able to get rid of it. And I have some weird suspicion deep down in my gut that that whole thing's a scam. And so I try to stay away from it. Remember on Windows 10, Windows 7, you've got the broad taskbar buttons? On Windows 11, you don't. They're all small, they don't provide a lot of information, and they push them all in the middle of the screen. So if you have 40 things open, they're like this. If you have 20 things open, and 10 things open, 3 things open, it's in the middle of the screen. It's counterintuitive. It's like you got to go looking for it every time. The only people that like that are people that grew up using Mac. So I don't want to hear it if you're a Mac guy and you like it. Fine, you like it. I'm telling you, it's not good. The way I use it now on Windows, everything stacks to the left. All my paragraphs stack to the left. All of my icons on my home screen stack to the left. Everything in my life stacks to the left. When I put the underwear in the drawer, I start it on the left. Okay? Why? I don't understand the whole centering of icons thing. I just don't get it. It's kind of dumb, really. Oh, but we want to look more like Apple. There we go. That's what it is. Microsoft, who is? The power shutdown restart buttons, they used to be 1 click, then they were 2 clicks. Now they're even more difficult to get. Power restart, sign on, sign off, shutdown buttons. Timeline, live tiles, Internet Explorer, features that will not be in Windows 11. If you like Microsoft Timeline or live tiles, you know, the live tiles on the what they call the Metro or the Internet Explorer, those things will not be available in Windows 11, so don't even look for them. Do you know how some of your apps will add something in the menu of your file manager? Like, you can right click and it will say, do you want to use decoder or do you want to use convert or whatever? Windows 11 no longer allows that. So everything is an additional 2 or 3 clicks to get it to do what you need it to do. I believe that one of the biggest problems with Windows 11 is the fact that there's going to be an adjustment period that's going to cause a reduction in productivity. There's a lot of older folks using Windows 10 out here. And we've been doing pretty good with it. But now you went and changed it again, Microsoft. The hell is wrong with you? Look, we're not getting any younger. You need to stop moving the buttons around, all right? What if someone came in your house once a year and moved all the furniture around, moved all of your personals around, okay? That would be bullcrap, wouldn't it? That'd be complete bullcrap, wouldn't it? Well, Microsoft, stop doing it to my desktop. This is where I make a living, okay? This is what provides my entertainment, all right? And this is what I spend the majority of my life doing, and I would prefer if you stay out of it and quit rearranging it, okay? And that's the bottom line on that. Here's another thing. Let's say you work somewhere, and they just bought 5 new machines. They're Windows 11 machines. Now those 5 machines work totally different than these 5 machines. They work completely different. The buttons are in different places. The right click on the mouse works differently. Everything's different. Why would you do that, Microsoft? We were happy with 10. Hell, we were happy with XP, but you had to keep screwing around. What was wrong with XP? You can update programming without moving the furniture, okay? You don't always have to move the furniture to make something better. You can clean it, fix it, and put the furniture back where you found it, and that's what you should be doing. Microsoft will continue to provide updates and support Windows 10 through October of 2025. So your Halloween surprise next year, a year from this coming Halloween, your Halloween surprise is that you'll get a notification pop up on your screen that says that your Windows 10 is no longer being serviced by Microsoft. Remember something I said earlier? I haven't updated mine in years. I don't do Windows updates. I haven't done Windows updates since Windows XP. Okay? So what do I care if it's in or out of Windows service? I'm not on the dark interwebs. Okay? I'm not out there surfing for things I probably shouldn't be surfing for. And so I don't worry about it. Just remember, if you switch to Microsoft 11, the road back is a difficult one. Some computers might be able to go back. Some may not. It may put you in a brick state where the computer doesn't do anything. So I would just be careful. I would not update. My personal recommendation to you is to use whatever system you buy with the operating system that came in it. Computers, each operating system that comes out takes much more resources than the last. And the computer you buy is built to operate on that system. And it's older now, it's 5 years old, so it's not going to be as fast. Computer speed degrades over time because of the heating and cooling cycle and wear and tear of non-moving and moving parts. There's a lot of reasons why, but your computer degrades speed over the years. That coupled with the fact that the new operating system takes much more memory, much more speed, much more processor time to operate. And so if you take a machine that's 2 years old and you put Windows 11 in it, it's going to be the equivalent of now having a 4-year-old computer because you've set yourself back on operating speed, on memory, and things like that. And now you're going to be on Amazon trying to order memory sticks and maybe a solid state hard drive. I got to speed this thing up. And I'm telling you what's going to happen. You should have just spent the $800. Go to PCPartPicker.com. That's PC. And I don't work for these people. This is a non-paid endorsement. PCPartPicker.com. That's how I bought this. I built it myself. It's easy. Go to PCPartPicker.com, you pick your parts, you put it all in there, and you put in Windows 10. It's going to run great. So there you go. I'm very opinionated, folks, and if you come here, I hope that that's what you're looking for, okay? If I was one of these people that said, well, it's good, but it's also bad, I hate that, okay? I'm giving you my opinion, Okay? Sometimes my opinion is that it's really, really good. If you look, most of my reviews are positive. Most. However, when it comes to Windows 11, it sucks soup. Okay? It's crap. Don't buy it. Don't get it. I would wait. They'll come out with 12. 12's an even number. Remember, every other operating system is a deuce. All right? And every other operating system is good. Wait for the next one. And keep using the last one. You know, I've still got a Windows XP machine. I've still got a Windows 7 machine. I like the old machines. Still use them. They're still hooked up to the internet. I got a Windows XP machine that I can surf the internet with. Okay, it's been out of Windows service for what, 15 years or something? Still works. I have to play with it every now and then with certificate authentication and stuff because it's very old, but it's fun. And here's the thing, if you're a ham radio guy, be wary of Windows 11. Not all your stuff's going to work with Windows 11. That's what I have, guys. This is a long monologue video. I'm sorry, but I just feel that you need to know that Windows 11 is just not, I don't think it's what you need to do right now. There's just so many reasons. But if you want to, it may be for you. Go do it. I'll be here when you go back to Windows 10. I'm just kidding. All right, guys, have a good one out there. My name's Ian. This is Starship Adventures, broadcasting on a Windows 10 machine. We'll see you next time on our next adventure.